Hello again, everyone. Continuing with New York weeks, I'm going to flip sports and look at the NHL teams now, starting with the Islanders. I know with the basketball teams in New York, you got the Nets and the Knicks, both teams who have been struggling. I know the Nets did get the 8th seed last year, but definitely teams that are looking to improve and head in a different direction. And then the NFL, you got the Giants and the Jets. Again, two teams that had rough years last year and hopefully are turning the corner. But when you look at the NHL, you have the Islanders and the Rangers, who are two of the best teams in the whole league. I will be talking about the New Jersey Devils in a couple days as well this week. Obviously, that is a different story with the Devils. But you got the Islanders and the Rangers, who are two fantastic teams. And I'm going to start with the Islanders, who last year 47, 28, and 7 for 101 points. I think they got the talent on this team to get to a 50-win season, no problem. Easily have another 100-point year this upcoming year. When you look at the draft, they originally didn't have any first-round picks, but they ended up getting a couple. They drafted Matthew Barzal, who is a center with the 16th overall pick, and then Anthony Beauvillier, who is a left winger with the 28th overall pick, and then their 82nd overall pick was a defenseman, Mitchell Von Sompel. So we'll see if those guys crack the roster. They'll definitely be a part of the future for this team with two first-round picks right there. Looking at the team overall, though, they only have 4 players on this entire roster who were born before 1987. So they have a very young core group of players heading in the right direction. Those 4 guys that were born before 87 are Grabovski, Kuhlman, Franz Nikin, as well as Boychuk. Boychuk's the only defenseman born before 87. Their next oldest defenseman is Brian Straight, who was born in 88. But looking at those 4 guys, Grabovski last year only played in 51 games, still had 9 goals and 10 assists. Kuhlman, 15 goals, 16 assists. Nikin had 14 goals, 29 assists. So those guys might be the veterans, the older guys on the team, but they're definitely still producing for this team and having a good impact on the team for sure. When you look at the defense, like I said, they got Boychuk, who had 9 goals and 26 assists, last year for this team with a plus 15 record. They had 4 defensemen with 20 plus assists last year on this team, and that is just fantastic. The defense on this team is very, very strong. Like I said, with Boychuk last year, 35 points overall, plus 15. Travis Hominick, who was just born in 1990, he had 5 goals, 28 assists, another plus 15. Thomas Hickey, who was born in 89, had a couple goals and 20 assists. Leddy, who was born in 91, had 10 goals, 27 assists, and was a plus 18. And the other couple defensemen they have is Brian Straight, who, like I said, was born in 88, still a younger guy, only played in 52 games, had a couple goals and 5 assists in those. And then the last defenseman, they got Calvin DeHaan, who was born in 91, who had a goal and 11 assists. He was the 12th overall pick in 09. Leddy was the 16th overall pick in 09. And then Thomas Hickey was the 4th overall pick back in 2007. So a lot of first-round picks on that defense. Looking at the 09 draft, first overall pick from that draft, of course, Jonathan Tavares, the heart and soul of this team, MVP caliber type of player for not just the Islanders, but for the whole league. He was just born in 1990, 38 goals, 48 assists last year. I think this guy has the ability to have a 100-point season. And I know that might sound crazy with last year him only having an 86-point season. Does he have it in him to get another 14 points? I definitely think this guy can have 40-plus goals, 50-plus assists, no problem, especially with the talent he has around him and how young this team is. He's going to be the cornerstone of this team going forward, and they're not going anywhere. For a long time, this team did struggle. That's why they got a lot of top picks. Those picks have turned out to be great talents and have been producing for this team, and this team is definitely headed in the right direction with Tavares leading it. Next guy I'll mention, Ryan Strome, who was the 5th overall pick back in 2011, just born in 93, had 17 goals, 33 assists, and a plus 23 rating last year for this team. Great player. Really, really excited to see where his career is going to go playing for the Islanders. Great young player there. Brock Nelson, who was born in 91, who was the 30th overall pick in 2010, had 20 goals and 22 assists for this team. Good young player there for sure as well. They also had Josh Bailey, who was the 9th overall pick back in 2008. He was born in 89, and he had 15 goals and 26 assists. And then Anders Lee, who was born in 1990, had 25 goals and 16 assists. So the talent on this team, it doesn't stop at Tavares and Strome. It goes through with Bailey and Nelson and Lee and even their veterans like Nikin and Grabovski and Kuhlman. They also have Grabner, who just played in 34 games last year, but in those 34 games he had 8 goals, 5 assists. Okposo just played in 60 games last year, had 18 goals, 33 assists. He was the 7th overall pick back in '06. A lot of talent on this team, and I think they are going to do big things. As you can tell, I'm very excited for this Islanders team. Being a Canadian, obviously, when you look at baseball, I hate the Yankees. I like what the Mets are doing. When I look at hockey, I'm a Minnesota Wild fan. You'd think being Canadian, I would at least be a fan of a Canadian hockey team. I'm a Minnesota Wild fan personally, but when I look at the New York teams, I really like the Islanders, the talent they have, the direction they're going. I think Tavares should have got the MVP this past year with the way he led this team to the record they have. I know they might not have been in the playoffs as long as they wanted to, but they're definitely going to make the playoffs again. I'll be surprised if they don't. If they have under 90 points this upcoming season, I will be surprised because the talent is deep and young. One guy that I love to mention, because he used to play for the Wild, and I loved him for the Wild, won't be a big point guy for you, Cal Clutterbuck. Fantastic hockey name. That is one of the best last names for a hockey player I've ever heard or read in my entire life as a hockey fan. Love Cal Clutterbuck. He had 7 goals, 9 assists for them last year. He's the last player I mentioned before I get to the goaltenders. But all of those players, like I said, outside of the 4 guys I mentioned at the beginning with Grabovski, Kuhlman, Boychuk, and Nielsen, are all born in 1988 or after that. So very, very young team. Like I said, Strome, Tavares, Nelson, Anders Lee, Josh Bailey, the list goes on and on. Casey Sezakis, 91, born in 91, he had 9 goals, 9 assists as well. The talent goes on. I definitely think this team has the ability to have 5+ players have 20+ goal seasons. I think Tavares is on pace to have a 40-goal season this upcoming year, but Lee, Nelson, Bailey, Strome, Okposo, Kuhlman, Nielsen, all those guys I expect to have 20-goal seasons, no problem. And it wouldn't shock me if Leddy even had a 20-goal season from the defensive position. But again, you had four defensemen who had 20+ assist seasons, so they're obviously a big part of the offensive game. But it doesn't matter how many goals you're scoring if your defense and your goalie are letting in a lot of goals. You can go and score 3-4 goals a night, but if you're letting in 3-4 goals a night, you're going to have a 500 record and probably miss the playoffs. So as great as that offensive threat is, as much as those defensive players have been getting involved in the offensive part of the game, they were playing great on defense as well. Like I said, Boychuk and Hominick had +15 ratings. Leddy had a +18 rating. Fantastic rating. Strome, as a forward, had a +23 rating. So obviously, going to expect to see a lot of ice time from him. And he's still, like I said, born in '93, still a young kid. Definitely still going to learn on this team going forward. But finishing off with the goaltending situation, you got Yaroslav Halak, who is a top 5 goalie in this league, in my opinion. When you look at his numbers last year, 38, 17, and 4, fantastic record, 2.43 GAA. Anytime you can get a starting goaltender to have a GAA under 2.5, you're going to be solid, and especially with that offensive power and presence that they have with this team, the Islanders should have no problems going out and scoring 3 goals a night. Obviously, it's going to be more difficult when you're facing the more competent and tougher goaltenders like your Carey Prices and your Devin Dubnyks and your Henrik Lundqvist with the Rangers. Obviously, those guys are going to be easy to score 3 goals against, but they have the ability to do that and take advantage of those opportunities to use this offensive threat that they have. And if Halak can have the same kind of impact and the same kind of season he had this past year, I definitely see a 100-point season happening again for this team. He also had a .914 save percentage, so that's solid. Very, very solid numbers from Halak. And their backup, Thomas Greiss, 9.6-3, 2.59 GAA with a .908 save percentage. Those are solid numbers from your backup. When you're playing an 82-game season, you're not going to expect to have your starting goaltender play 82 games. If Halak can play 65 to 70, you put in Greiss for the other 10 to 12. That's a solid mix. I think Greiss is a solid backup, but Halak is obviously your number one guy. Fantastic numbers from him. Offensive, strength throughout the lineup. It doesn't just stop at Tavares and Strome. It goes through, like I said, all those stats that I mentioned. Very, very talented and young team here. It's not like the Islanders are going to be a threat for the next couple of years, and they got a bunch of veterans who are going to be retiring soon or going to other teams. If they can find a way to lock up these young guys and take advantage of, Strome, I think, is probably still on an entry-level contract. So until he expects to get a huge paycheck, you keep him involved And if they find success, these guys are want to stick together as a group. So I think this team is going to be successful for a lot of years to come. Those are my thoughts on the Islanders of the NHL. Thanks again for all the support. As you have heard in the past, if you've been listening to my videos, you can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614, and I will be continuing my New York weeks tomorrow with my look at the Rangers of the NHL. Thank you again for all the support. I really do appreciate it. Bye for now.